Greetings, everyone. It's Crime Talk with Crin, and we are back with episode 20. Episode 20. I am so excited. Welcome to all my subscribers. Welcome back to all my day ones. And let me tell you, today I have one of those episodes where we're going a little bit off the rails. This might be something like a rant, I'm not sure, but just hold on to your seats. Before I get going, I want to, of course, give a huge shout out to Tommy Jude over at Once Upon a Crime Time. So, the crazy part is, so, uh, I had an idea, right? I was on Tommy's show a few weeks back. He asked me, what I had coming next. I was like, oh, I kind of got a bee in my bonnet for the media, right? And then he did a show, it was like maybe about a week ago with Cy Ray, which I freaking loved seeing Cy Ray and his wife on Tommy's show. It was amazing. It was like wholesome and funny and cute. I absolutely loved it. If you have not seen Tommy Jude's interview with Cy Ray, I want to say you missed it, but you didn't because I'm sure you could go back and check it out. It was great. The way that the questions were strategically asked to not cross any lines was fantastic. Their answers, their energy, it was absolutely amazing. Go check it out. I will put the link to Tommy's channel in the bio, and I will put the link to the Cy Ray interview in there as well, just so you don't have to go searching around looking for it. But it was fantastic. And during that interview, Cy Ray mentioned, his thoughts about the media as well. And so I was like, exactly, yes, yes. Like I'm at the house yelling at the phone, which is what I do. And so, I was re energized. Like, everybody is, not everybody, of course, because some people love it, but there are a lot of people who are side eyeing the media, like, yo, what are y'all doing? Like, this is goofy. Like, what is this? What are you even saying? So, I put some notes together and I was like, okay, we definitely have to get into this. And so I figured like episode 20 would be perfect for me to give my thoughts. But I have stuff going on, right? I got a life, a little bit. I'm a parent. I'm trying to get some stuff off the ground. I'm trying to get a degree. It's a lot. And it's hot. I'm in New Jersey. It's been like 1,000 degrees every day for the last 3 weeks. It's a lot going on. Okay? So I said I was gonna get to it. I was gonna get to it. I was gonna get to it. And then the other night, I was taking a break from my homework and I was laying down and it was late. And I went on Twitter and I saw a snippet from TMZ. And I was like, okay, TMZ, talking about the Idaho 4. I see you. I didn't pay it any mind. I didn't read no comments. I just saw that they were talking about it. So then I go over to YouTube. And then on YouTube, I see the video. So I was like, all right, let's see what Harvey and them got going on over at TMZ talking about the Idaho 4. And so initially, I was so excited because I'm like, I know that there are a lot of people in the true crime community, and there's a lot of people who visit the true crime community who believe that we shouldn't be talking about this anymore, that there's no movement in the case, and so we, it's like, oh, it's for clicks and views, and they're trying to all this type of stuff, right? Um, I'm like, okay, if if you are paying attention, there's like hearings every other week, and the way that this case is going, the what we're seeing in this case is screaming to some of us corruption. And so I think I said it on Twitter months back that I'm trying to figure out if this is like the craziest, most incompetent police force in the country, or if they are playing stupid to cover up corruption. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And the more hearings come out, and now you have the officers actually taking the stand in the hearings, and it's unbelievable. Like, the things that they are saying is unbelievable. I said a couple videos ago, if this was the trial, Bryan Kohberger would be skedaddling. He would be on his way home, because when they have the officers, was it Mowry and Payne, I think it was, that took the stand and made a fool out of the whole police force. And then you had Cy right over there who looked like he was the only person who had an education between the three of them. When you have the guy, I don't remember his name, who came up there talking about the survey, and they had to admit that they knew from the jump that this whole stalker angle was fake. So I'm trying to figure it out. So when people say that there's nothing going on in the case, it is obvious to me that they're not paying attention. How can you say that there's nothing going on in the case and we're having hearings every other week? How can you say that there's nothing going on in the case when they had to sit on the stand in a court of law and say that we know he was not stalking them? When they had to sit on the stand in a court of law and say there's no video of his car? When they had to sit on the stand in a court of law and say we did not start looking at Bryan Kohberger until December 20th. What? Over a month after the. But y'all said, don't we're acting like in the PCA that as soon as y'all found a knife sheath, it was like, oh, this is Bryan's. That's what they were acting like in the PCA. Y'all are going to say that there's nothing happening in the case when the prosecution said that the PCA was irrelevant. The prosecution is like, this PCA is bunk. He didn't say that. He didn't come out and say it was garbage, but he said it was irrelevant. So if the document that was used to obtain an arrest warrant to have Bryan Kohberger in jail, awaiting trial, now almost 2 years later, if they're saying that that's irrelevant, they know it's crap. They know it's crap. And so they say, oh, yeah, Bryan Kohberger lovers and all this weird, oh, it's Bryan fangirl and all this. Anybody. And I recently joined a Idaho 4 group on Facebook. And I was like, I wanted to see, what people were saying. And there's a lot of people in there. And most of the people who comment in the group believe that he's guilty. So it's very interesting because, like, I want to see that. I don't block anybody. I don't go back and forth with anybody in the comments, because if you have a difference of opinion than me, that's fine. I want to read it because maybe you say something that I hadn't thought about or I hadn't considered, or maybe you say something that makes something else make sense, or completely just wipes out or invalidates a theory that I had. So if you have a difference of opinion, I'm not like, oh, get out of here. No, this is not an echo chamber. So that means I'm not repeating what everybody else is saying, and I don't need a whole comment section full of people who are repeating what I'm saying. However, the people who are in the comments or posting in the group, they're all saying basically the same stuff. He's guilty, you're crazy, you're sick, you want a quadruple murderer to go free, you're disgusting, what's wrong with you, you people are crazy. Like, come on. Based off of what? Based off of what? People jumped out in my comments and they're like, he's guilty. When I was doing the TikToks last summer, which hopefully I can get back to. But they're being a little weird with TikTok right now. So, I don't know. But It's like, based off of what? Why do we think he's not guilty? Well, you guys provided us with a document. And this document is supposed to be all the reasons why he should have been arrested. And now, before trial gets here, and almost 2 years down the line, the people who were responsible for putting together the PCA said document for him to be arrested are now sitting in a court of law saying that everything in the PCA is crap. It's made up. They're saying it. This is not me speculating. This isn't me reaching. That they're saying that it's all fake. That's what they're saying. So the people who are like, oh, he did it, his DNA. Uh-uh. That touch DNA, trace DNA on a knife sheath. Because here's the thing. And somebody was like, nobody said that it's exculpatory but you. Well, that's not true. That's not true because we have the statement, the supplemental disclosure from Dawn Daniels, who said, this could be considered exculpatory. Cy Ray has come out and said that everything that he's seen regarding the cast report and the travel of the white Elantra is exculpatory, but specifically referring to the DNA because I don't want to sidetrack myself. You have, was it Mowry, who has tried to distance himself from the sighting of the knife sheath. So the only person who's claiming this knife sheath is Brett Payne. Everybody else is like, no, I know that y'all are talking about it, but I don't know nothing about, like, everybody is trying to get away from it. So listen, I don't know the depths of some viewers' critical thinking. So, if you don't get it, then that's fine. That's fine. We're all going to see how this plays out if this goes to trial. And when I say if this goes to trial, because it's looking very, very flimsy at this point. It's looking very flimsy at this point. I'm not going to talk about Anne right now. I might talk about her again later because I'm still not done. I'm still not done. But right now, I'm not going to talk about Anne. I'm not even going to talk about the roommates right now. Today, in this episode, we are talking about the media. And I try to, even though I get turned up, and some people don't like my passion, and that's fine too. But I try not to get too worked up. I try not to start cussing and carrying on because I know my mama's listening. However, respectfully, TMZ has pissed me off. Pissed me clean off. TMZ, I need you to step to the front of the room. TMZ, I need to know who your sources are, because it seems like you might be listening to Nancy Grace or something. I don't know. When I listened to that TMZ episode and saw that room full of people saying all the stuff that we knew based off of the hearings, based off of the documentation, we knew that this stuff is not factual. And then you have people like, oh my gosh, I'm so obsessed with the Idaho 4. You're not. You're not so obsessed with it, because if you were obsessed, then you would be tuning into the hearings and seeing what they're saying. You don't have to watch YouTubers and hear whose theories what, who's speculating about what. You don't have to watch that. But if you are watching the hearings on Judge John Judge's channel, If you are going to the Idaho website and reading the documents that are dropping, don't say you're obsessed when you're sitting here talking about stuff from almost 2 years ago that we now know in present day is not factual. And so, what really irritated me about TMZ and what is irritating me about the media is I believe that they are all behind, and conspiracy theory loaded, whatever, tin hat, freshly wrinkled. But what would be the reason for mainstream media to constantly be talking about this stalker angle? Because that's what they keep riding on. They're not taking the time to explain touch DNA. They want to talk about the IgG, but they don't want to talk about the fact that the prosecution said in the very beginning, before we even hit year one, in the very beginning, the prosecution said that they were filing a motion of limine because they weren't using the IgG at all. Why not? Why not? And where's it at? Because you guys wanted to sit here and publicly discuss the IgG inside out and backwards, even though from the very beginning you said that you didn't want to use it, that you weren't using it, that this was not going to be a part of the trial. Y'all said that, but y'all want to carry it out and act like that this is the smoking gun. If it was the smoking gun, you would be using it. Y'all knew that it was crap. That's why y'all didn't put it in the PCA. That PCA is fake. That PCA is ridiculous. When we saw Clad in Black, when they first dropped it in January, we're like, did she say that? No, I don't think she said that. When she said she left out the room 3 times and the neighbor's camera could hear noise, but she couldn't. She could hear Kaylee upstairs saying somebody is here, but she didn't hear what was picked up on the camera from the neighbor's house. They still want to rock with, oh, everybody was sleeping. I thought from the very beginning, when I first started my channel, I made myself a sticky note because I put the cover up started immediately. And when I say the cover up started immediately, when they said that everybody was sleeping, they said that basically everybody at the house was asleep. And that's how the roommates didn't call until 8 hours later. And that's how one person was able to get in and out, commit these crimes, and with nothing. And so I believe that they knew. See, they tried to dress it up as they didn't want for the killer to know that there were 2 surviving roommates that were awake and could potentially identify this person. And that's how they tried to dress it up, that for the safety of the surviving roommates, this is why they said that everybody is asleep. That's how they tried to dress it up. But then you drop the PCA and you know that they were awake. So now that's out the window. So now it's like, oh, this person was sleeping, this person was sleeping. Then you had defense wounds. And that's why I keep asking, how do you have a silent fight? But like I said, this isn't about the roommates. This is about the media. And so I understand that we are in this very hypersensitive moment in time in society. Right? And so it's, you don't want to victim shame or victim blame and all this. That's why when people bring up a motive, what was the purpose? What was the reason? People go, there doesn't have to be, he's an animal. That's his motive. Come on. Okay, he's an animal. Fine. So how come he's like, why now? Why this house? What was why like why not attack the people that were running around outside? They always say, oh, it was a quiet town. No, it wasn't. We have body cam footage, multiple body cam footage from multiple officers. Instances. You have Delinda Lane, which is, Delinda Lane is Linda Lane. I'm not touching it. But you can see that there were people roaming around, running around. You saw how many people were at the grub truck? So those people just fell asleep. This is basically fraternity row. Everybody was asleep. They said there was 2 football games. It was parents' weekend. Everybody was asleep. Everybody wasn't asleep. What about the film crew that was supposedly in the back of the house? When did they go to sleep? We could talk about Maddie's hoodie if we want to. But this was not this quiet, peaceful, oh, it was a calm, quiet Saturday night at the University of Idaho. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Y'all say this was a party house, and it just so happens wasn't no party on this night. Come on. Come on. Kaylee came back to go to a party or a Friday night. And now y'all are hanging out at a bar for hours, go to the grub truck. Y'all weren't going, come on, y'all were not going home to go to bed. Stop. But the media just keeps harping on these things. I remember when Kaylee's dad came out in the very beginning and said that Bryan Kohberger had been to the house so many times and he was close enough to connect to the Wi-Fi. Who said that? And how come you haven't said anything else about it? Oh, is it because of the gag order? No, it's because it's made up. It's fake. And so they say that people speculating online can harm the case, right? But you have everybody and their great uncle writing books. We're not even at trial yet. What could your book be about? There's a gag order. He says it's fake. He says it's real. They say they didn't talk to him. He says they asked to be in the movie. What? A movie about what? I like to keep all my things separate, but I have four published books. 3 of them are suspense murder mysteries. One of them is like a self-help type of situation. But I write. I'm in school for communications. I'm a writer. I have a blog. Nothing in me says, hey, Crin, you should write a book about the Idaho 4. Write a book for what? For all that? I could just make a story up because that's what y'all are doing. Just make something up. You have no facts. You have no details. None of us do. We don't know what's going on. All we know is what we see in the trial, and that's nothing to write home about. That's nothing to write a book about. So how come when I sit here at my house minding my business, yelling to my phone in a room by myself, how come when I do it, it's, oh, I speculated this is awful. But the mainstream media, who is by default going to get hundreds of thousands of more views than me, can put out false narratives over and over and over. TMZ. When somebody says that a celebrity dies, there are people who don't believe it until they see it on TMZ. But TMZ gets to say that he was stalking them. months after it has already been publicly declared in a court of law that everybody knew that he wasn't stalking them. Weeks after, the officer sat there and said that they don't have his car on video. That's what they said. But in the PCA, you said that you established a timeline based on the testimony from Bethany and Dylan, the forensic downloads from their phones, and video of a suspect video of the vehicle. But you just said there's no video. So if there's no video of the suspect's car, that means that you base the timeline off of the two people who did not report the crime. Oh, because they didn't know. Listen, I would pay good money to know what they were texting about. I'm telling you, I'm trying not to talk about them. But how do you not? How do you not? I'm really trying to stay on task here. But I just think it's crazy that the media is allowed to constantly spread fake news, knowingly fake news, because it is in alignment with the prosecution. When the guy who was doing the survey was like, did you know that supposedly the defendant was stalking one or some of the victims? And they're like, why would you say that? How could you call people and say that? Any of the mainstream media outlets who talk about the case bring this up. He's been reported in the area 12 times prior. And they say 12 times, which makes it sound crazy, but it's like this was November. He got there in June. That's like 3 times a month. And they're not saying that he was at the house. They're saying that his phone pinged off of the tower. The phone pinged off the tower that his phone could technically ping off of sitting on his couch at his home. When they say the devil's in the details, baby, the devil is in the details, because what the mainstream media does is they take the most generalized point, and that over the last 19 or so months, we have gotten down to more specific details. But see, they're not going to discuss those details. Because when you discuss those details, that's when it's a conspiracy. Oh, you're a Kohberger. Oh, you're a Bryan lover. Oh, you're. No. You say his phone pinged in the area 12 times prior to the murders, as if it was like 12 consecutive days before the murder. That's what they allude to. That's the way, when they say these things, that's what it suggests. That he has been stalking them. But when you understand the range of a cell tower and how close he actually lives, see, they say he lives in Washington. This happened in Idaho. So you figure, like, oh, he had to come all the way. He didn't have to come all the way anywhere. He was 10 miles away. Most of us work more than 10 miles from our home. But they say these things. Oh, the white Elantra, the white Elantra. They don't talk about the fact that you had an expert, a FBI expert, say the make and model of the car originally. And everybody was looking for the make and the model of the car that the FBI expert pointed out initially. Then the PCA comes out and it's Bryan Kohberger, and he has the same kind of car, but the model's different. And then they're like, oh, well, the car didn't have a license plate. Well, how do you know the car didn't have a license plate if you're now saying that you don't have the car on video? Also, any average Joe knows if they're going to drive their car or a car to commit a crime, they're taking the plates off. Because why am I going to pull up with my license plate on anybody's camera? So you could know it's me? Hello? So how is it that saying that the car didn't have a license plate? Duh. Nobody's driving up to a crime scene or driving up to commit a crime with their tags visible. And somehow you say, oh, well, in Pennsylvania, they don't need a front tag, so it has to be him. No, it has to be anybody who thought twice and doesn't want their tags shown on a vehicle because they're about to kill people. So now it's like, oh, well, it was him. It was him. They found this car months ago, but it wasn't the right car, so they left it alone. It's still not the right car. And how can you say that the car didn't have tags if you don't have the car on video? And you sat in court and said you do not have the car on video. What are we talking about? So how is it that the media can still sit here and say these things? They would not have to drive across to they wouldn't have to fly across the country and dig through somebody's trash if there was any other DNA at that scene. They say that the victims had defensive wounds. If they would have scratched them, boom, DNA all under his fingernails, but they don't have that. When the media talks about the the case, they don't talk about the fact that there was a latent shoe print that wasn't the size of Bryan Kohberger's feet. They don't talk about the people who came to the house that morning. No, they want to talk about, oh, he's a stalker. Somebody actually said incel. Somebody literally said incel. I could have fallen on the ground. Y'all don't know him. This was some made up, make pretend, criminal minds profiler BS. Oh, he's an incel. Says who? Oh, yeah, he broke into her house and was moving stuff around just to freak her out. Says who? Who said that was him? Come on now. Come on. So when you guys sit here and talk about the people on YouTube and the people on Reddit and 4chan and Twitter, X, TikTok speculating, why are they any different than the mainstream media? Because when I pick up my mic or I pick up my phone to record an episode, to talk to you guys and let you know what I'm thinking about this case, I'm not sitting here saying stuff that I know for a fact is wrong. I'm not sitting here talking about things that I know for a fact have been debunked officially or disproven. When I did my video about the DoorDasher, guess what? Law enforcement has not come out and officially said anything about the DoorDasher being cleared. It hasn't happened. They didn't come out and say it was a man. They didn't come out and say if it was a woman. They didn't come out and say if it was Jack in the Box. They didn't come out and say if it was coffee. They didn't say if it was brought in the house, if it was left on the porch. They didn't say none of that. So when I say that I think that Bryan Kohberger is a DoorDasher, or see, the thing was when I said that the car was making turns like a delivery driver trying to find the location, right? And so if they said that that car was Bryan Kohberger's, then that's why I said Bryan Kohberger must have been a DoorDasher. And then that would have made sense if his trace touch DNA was on the food that he was delivering. The food was received and taken into the house. That's how his DNA could have gotten into the house. And then whatever happened with that bag and then a knife sheath after that could explain how his DNA got anywhere at the scene. But then you have Cy Ray, who came out and said, no, he wasn't there at all. And then you have them saying that they don't have his car on camera, so that means that the car that was making the turns was not Bryan Kohberger's car. That means the car that was making the turns was probably the DoorDasher, like I was saying. So if it was Emily Bailey or not, none of that matters. But when I said that the way that they're describing the movements of suspect vehicle 1 seems like a DoorDasher. And I said that because of where I live, that's the same foolishness that they do to me. I'm trying to get Starbucks in the morning and they end up crossing a bridge going into Pennsylvania because they can't find me. And I sit there watching them on a map do loop-de-loops and figure eights looking a fool, just like the way it was described in the PCA for suspect vehicle 1. They put out a whole list of people that were covered, or excuse me, a whole list of people that were cleared. They added a private driver. Why did they not add the DoorDasher? If they would have came out and said that the DoorDasher was cleared, that would be something totally different. And I was like, oh, well, like they said they cleared them, but it didn't happen. But the way that the mainstream media is operating, they are still, to this day, talking about things that they know are not true to spin the narrative that it was Bryan Kohberger. Why is that allowed? You guys had a hearing to stop the survey. And the survey was used for this purpose. The survey was used for this very purpose, to point out the fact that the media has done irreparable damage to this case. And y'all had an issue with the questions that he was asking, but it's the same stuff that they get to talk about on the media whenever they feel like it. That's all I got.